Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Tank Historian and I want to talk to you about the 10th anniversary today. But before we get into it, I want to talk about the background here and my model desk and all this stuff that you can see back here. This is why I did not release a video last week. I was making plans to change change the way that our hobby room is. So my wife and I can still share a hobby room, but we can both record in our own backgrounds. So here you go. You now get to see a fraction of my tank collection, and I'll be rotating them down. I've got let's see, 5 shelves up there, not counting the short one on the bottom. And yeah, so I also build aircraft, as you can see on the bottom shelf behind me. So you'll see some of those as well. You can see back on my desk back there, I have a BF-110 currently in progress and a KV-2. So you'll be seeing that change with all the new projects that I'm going to be working on, and you'll see more and more tanks appear on the shelves as we go forward. So without further ado, I'd like to get into the meat of my video today. I want to talk to you about World of Tanks and the last 10 years. Okay, so World of Tanks has always been a game that has been really tailored for me. So let's go back to the beginning, back 10 years ago when I first started. Okay, so growing up, I was a military brat. My dad was in the military, moving around a lot. Some of my earliest memories were in Germany, actually, because my dad was stationed there. And one of my earliest memories was seeing the old M48s that the Germans used to use. If you need reference, go into World of Tanks, look at the M48 Raumpanzer. They used to use M48s before they moved to the Leopards. And they had one of those doing a demonstration. Now, this is me at 4 years old, okay? And I'm sitting on a bleachers, and it looks like I'm sitting way far away. And so I'm looking down on this tank crushing a car, and I'm like, whoa, dude, tanks are cool, man. And so that started my spiral down, if you will, into the fascination with military technology, military history. And as you can see, that blossomed into a model building predilection and a general interest in tanks and all that they are. And then one day, I was in my early 20s, and something happened that I never would have expected. I never expected there to be a tank video game appear out there, and one day I'm browsing CurseForge for some WoW mods, and here we are. There's a tank game, and I'm like, wow. I mean, holy crap. I mean, this game was built for me. So here's the problem, though. Here's the problem, because when I was that age, I was a poor college student, and I was using the computer that barely ran WoW at that time. And for those of you who know WoW 10 years ago, it was not nearly as demanding on systems as it is now. I had an old HP laptop that could be best described as adequate for computing purposes. It wasn't great at all for gaming. I had integrated graphics. It was terrible. But I was determined to play World of Warcraft then, and then as soon as World of Tanks came on, I didn't care what the recommendation for the minimum requirements said. I was going to play it. And unfortunately, not only was my internet connection terrible, but my integrated graphics were terrible, And so I did my best to wipe out all of the programs that were running in the background. I I I, I really learned a lot in that first week of trying to play the game on how to enhance computers to the point where they can run faster. And I finally got the game downloaded, started playing. To my chagrin, the only class of tank that I could play reasonably, and those of you who had potato computers at the time will be able to attest to this, was artillery. I could only play artillery at frame rates higher than 10. And it wasn't much better than that. It was 13. I was able to get 13 frames per second. That is ridiculous. But I was determined to play this game because it was the only game out there like this. It was the only tank-based video game that you've ever seen. And what do you do with that? I mean, if any of you know who I am, you'll know that tanks are my thing. And so I was sold. And so the primary thing that I wanted to do with this is I just loved driving the tanks. I mean, literally just driving them. I mean, and then the fact that you have the ability to shoot and get and blow up other tanks and stuff like that. I mean, who doesn't like that? Of all of you in the community, who doesn't like that? I mean, seriously, you can go from Quickie Baby down to the newest player that just started yesterday. That's what we do in this game, and we love it when we can blow up and just go through. So I started in the closed beta, and it was about halfway through the beta when I started. There was, I remember they were doing this really cool 250 gold per week thing, where they were trying to test what how people would go through the currency and stuff like that. And I mean that alone was enough to keep me interested during the beta. But it became more uh, it became more of a kind of a culture to me, and the community started to grow when the game first came out of closed beta. The community that we had was amazing. It was everybody was there for one reason and one reason only. We like tanks, and um, while while there was still some problems with the game, everybody loved it because, I mean, you can just jump into a match, play 15 minutes, and you can stop and you can go grab a drink and come back, and it was it was completely different than anything I had played before. Like World of Warcraft, you have to dedicate hours of your time just to be able to do the end game. In this game, the end game is all the time. You don't have to like, yeah, end game is tier 10. I don't. That's not how this game works. I mean, tier 10 is only a fraction of the game. You can play. You can stop at tier 5. You can stop at tier 8. You can do whatever thing you want. And the thing is that all of my favorite tanks were in the game. Some of the tanks in the game that started being added later were interesting. I mean, I love the technological aspect and the history of the technological development. You'll see that in our tank lineage videos, which I'm going to be producing another one of those soon, where you see the development as time goes on. But put all of that aside, it was just so unique, and there wasn't a game like this where it was vehicle based 15 versus 15. Now later on down the line, different competitors came out, and there were other games out there that were like aircraft and stuff like that, at the time that were really not that great. But this one was special, and that's what originally got us all hooked. And for those of you who have been with the game for the last 10 years, I've got one big fist bump for you, because I mean, we were the team. We were the ones who saw who started with the game. That we were the ones who carried it through to today, and it's simply because it's a passion. We love this game, and that's what made it special. So we have to get past the elephant in the room, though, because there has been 10 years of this game, and in any game that goes on for any period of time, you have to look at the good and the bad at the same time. I mean, there's been times uh, where I haven't played this game. There's been times where I've been so mad at it that it's ridiculous, and it's but those times those times will always come with any game. Like, I don't play World of Warcraft near as much as I used to. I mean, it's just how you develop as a person. So, um, back in the beginning, though, I I played the game for a good 2 3 years, solid straight, completely devoted to the game, because I mean there wasn't any reason to try another one. And then, um, but uh, soon enough, the game started feeling a little stale. I mean, you play the game for uh, play any game for 3 years straight without much changing, and you start getting a little bit tired of it. So, um, I wasn't always completely loyal to the game, primarily because ooh shiny. I mean, we've got a billion games made every day, um, and so think game. If those of you who remember, think back when War Thunder originally came out. It was a aircraft based game almost exclusively, and that seemed interesting because I'd cut my teeth in video games on simulator games like Jane's F-15, uh, Jane's IAF. So I was really interested in trying out an aircraft game, and I went and played War Thunder. But the thing is that War Thunder wasn't. It didn't. No, number one, it didn't have tanks. Number two, it wasn't. Um, it wasn't as fun as World of Tanks was. And I guess it all comes down to the low ceiling. Like, you have a you have a game that comes out that's easy to pick up and just start, and that's what uh, we had with World of Tanks. We had You could start at tier one and just go. I mean, you sit there and um, you get your tier one tank, and all you got to do is press battle. You don't have to learn any a major mechanics other than WASD drives your tank, and you click the mouse button to shoot a tank, to shoot your gun. I mean, that's pretty much it. And so, uh, the low skill ceiling, the limit, like one of the things that I hated about World of Warcraft is that um, in order to uh, get good at the game, you had to press all the buttons at the right exact times, like skill rotations and stuff like that. Those were all things that were um, common to MMOs at the time, and There was no real different MMO out there, and that's the thing with World of Tanks is it was always a low skill ceiling to get started. You don't have to figure out this massive rotation. You don't have to try to figure out whether or not you press Sinister Strike at this point and you press Eviscerate here. I mean, while those things are not super difficult to figure out, you have to have a base level of interest in the thing and a lot of practice to get. Okay, so on the 3 second mark you press Sinister Strike, and on the 5 second mark you press Eviscerate, and if you miss your Eviscerate by over half a second, your DPS goes down by 10,000. And I no. I mean, I liked World of Warcraft. Don't get me wrong, but there's something nice about being able to just focus on your strategy, your position, the way that your tank is designed. And I mean, that's one of the things that was really smart about the game is that each tank was a faithful reproduction. You had, you can pretty much take any one of the tanks that I have up there, and it appeared in the game as it would have appeared in real life, to an extent. Now, before anybody freaks out on me on that, to an extent, it was never supposed to be 100% historically accurate. This is a video game. It's an arcade-y video game. So you got to remember that it was never about historical accuracy. And we're going to get to War Thunder on that in a minute. But this was about getting in tanks, having a reasonable facsimile of the tank that you're driving with reasonable characteristics of the same, and competing against other players. And I mean, you have balance that you have to worry about. You have all these kind of things when it's a PvP game. But that's what this is about. And one of the things that was really exciting about this is that, as a person who liked armored vehicles and World War II history, I didn't feel too, let's say, I didn't feel like there was a community out there. Like, there's the model building community, which I was a part of at the time, but that community is generally fairly fairly older. And so here I am, a 20-year-old who's interested in armored vehicles and aircraft and stuff like that, and I'm sitting here having conversations with older guys, and I get this feeling like there's no community in my age bracket. There's no community. And then all of a sudden the World of Tanks comes along and bam, there's a community. There's hundreds of thousands to millions of players. When World of Tanks first came out, after the first year, there was millions of players, hundreds of millions of players on the game. The community was so big, and I was like, how is it possible that there was so many people interested in armored vehicles? And I was so amazed, and it was really nice to be a part of that community. It still is. All of you that are still watching and playing this game, it's amazing to be part of this community. And so, moving on, we're moving along in the years here. We're at about year 4, and the major competitor, I forget when exactly Armored Warfare came out. Give me a second. Yeah, 2015. So we're getting 4 or 5 years in, and so here we are, 4 or 5 years in. Armored Warfare is teased and is coming out, and I'm excited because like one of the things that World of Tanks didn't have was modern vehicles. Like, I mean, I like the M1 and the uh, Leopard 1 and all that kind of stuff, um, as much as I like the World War II vehicles. And I mean, as as much as uh, I hoped that Armored Warfare would be good, I knew that Armored Warfare couldn't really do any better than World of Tanks, but I love the fact that they might be able to do as good as World of Tanks, and I could choose if I wanted to play uh, armored vehicles from World War II up to like 1960, which was the original. I don't know what they want to call it. The original boundaries. They said like 1930s to 1960s, and um, or I can choose to play modern vehicles, whatever suits my fancy. But that was the problem, is that Armored Warfare came out and it was trying, I think it was trying too hard to be a direct competitor to World of Tanks. Sorry. I'm sorry, Wargaming. Um, it was trying to be too much of a direct competitor to World of Tanks, and the problem is it was being a direct competitor, but it was doing some things like there were some systems in the game that weren't all that great, um, and the servers weren't as robust. These the graphics engine wasn't as smooth. There was just a bunch of small issues that ended up piling on each other for that spelled doom for Armored Warfare. And I played Armored Warfare for a good 3 months. I tried to give it a good shake, but it wasn't. It wasn't. It just wasn't World of Tanks. And I don't know what to tell you as far as what World of Tanks is, but um, there I can tell you what game which tried to be and was more than capable of becoming a direct competitor to World of Tanks, and that was War Thunder. And War Thunder was like, you know what, we're gonna release uh, ground forces, and we're gonna create a system where we have all three branches of the armed forces in one game. We can have uh, aircraft, we can have armed forces for the ground forces, and we can have naval forces. And they announced all three of these at the same time, and we just recently got naval forces in War Thunder. But when they released their ground forces in War Thunder, I stopped and I looked at it for a second, and I remembered my aircraft experience in War Thunder. And for those of you who don't know, World of Tanks, Wargaming released both World of Warships and World of Warplanes. They released World of Warplanes first, and that was an abysmal failure. To this day, I don't think they have a good player base, primarily because they were releasing World of Warplanes to try to compete with War Thunder that had already had a game out and was doing it better already. And so, what I really said to myself, and I said to my brother at the time, which was the person that I was primarily playing World of Tanks with, was I think that Wargaming and World of Tanks should focus on the armored vehicles, and uh, War Thunder should focus on the aircraft, because the two games don't need to compete with each other, because where they compete with each other, they were having some big issues, and Wargaming ended up backing off of their World of Warplanes at the time, and for a while there, War Thunder um, was not the game I wanted to play for armored vehicles. It wasn't simple. They had a different mechanic. It was actually fairly decent initially. I mean, in concept. I mean, people like War Thunder to this day. Ground Force is better than World of Tanks because of the realism aspect, and you have the historical battles mode, and you have simulator, and you have all these different modes. But like personally, being a casual gamer myself, I don't want to sit there and even though I have 3 spawns, I don't want to be one shot by whatever OP tank is running around right at the current moment. And that's what happened in War Thunder for me, and that's what initially soured the milk for me. I didn't want to play a game that was capable of one shotting me. I didn't like it in World of Tanks when you had things like the Death Star and the Waffentrager E100 rolling around. It's one of the things that ended up sending me back to World of Warcraft for a little while, and games like Star Trek Online and stuff like that, because I I like many things. I like Star Trek. I like fantasy and whatnot. But uh, World of Tanks has been bringing me back a lot because, and it's tough to define what that is, what it is that keeps bringing me back. It's like, and the best way I can describe this is, does anyone remember Chandler Bing? Does anybody remember Janice? That is the example that I can have for what World of Tanks has been like for the last 10 years. I mean, well, not the last 10 years, probably about the last 5. So, Chandler is always coming back to Janice because Janice either might be available or is in love with Chandler, or they just happen to come together one night or something. And for a couple episodes, maybe Chandler and Janice are a thing. But then, and sometimes this is in less than half of an episode, then the laugh comes out. And you know what I'm talking about. Go Google it. Janice laugh from Friends. And it's a joke throughout the entire series, from the beginning to the end. Chandler and Janice are a thing off and on until he finally comes together with Monica. And I mean, these are Friends spoilers that the series has been out for 15 years now. Okay, we don't need to worry about spoilers. But that's the relationship that I've had with World of Tanks. Okay? And the annoying laugh that World of Tanks has is the ridiculously random RNG, the frustrating matches, the string of absolute defeats, the one shots from artillery, stuff like that. Those are the things that come back to and really kind of force a break from the game. I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, there's people who have been playing this game nonstop from the beginning, and hats off to you. But it's the annoying it's the annoying girlfriend. It's the one that you always still have a place in your heart, but there's always something. Every time that you come back and you spend a whole bunch of time in the game, it starts getting on your nerves. And I think for the last uh, 2 3 years, like I actually took a full year off of the game because I started getting very worked up, and I had to take a minute and just think about what was going on and why was I getting so irritated about it. And it ended up turning out to be the fact that um, a lot of the way that the game was turning at the time was very much you have to purchase the Scorpion G, and you have to purchase the Defender, and you have to make sure you have those, and because those are the overpowered tanks, and those are dominating the game at the current moment. I think a lot of those issues have been corrected, and when I came back to the game um, about a year or so ago and started playing it again, um, I really uh, I was really happy that a lot of those issues had been corrected. There's still some tanks in the game that still need some work. There's the Object 279E. There's the EBR 105 series that just got worked on. The Progettos. I mean, there's still some things in the game that need some work, but it's still, for 10 years, it's still a very solid game. It's still all about tanks. I mean, Wargaming, if you're listening, you've got me for pretty much the entire time that you got the game. If you keep this game running for the rest of my natural life, I will be here. I will be here, off and on, maybe. I mean, there's things that happen in life, but I mean, you had the formula to cater to exactly what I wanted and uh, really needed in a game. And I want you and everybody who's watching me to know that this game has always been a part of my life for the last 10 years, and it will continue to be part of my life moving forward. All right, so that was my unique history for World of Tanks. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble on. But if you like the video, give me a like. If you want to see more, give me a subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. All right? Take care.